Well, we are another week into transfer portal craziness. I have plenty to say about what Missouri did this last week. We're going to go ahead, recap it here today for Missouri Tigers on the side. Welcome back, everyone. It's Michael Stamps here. Let's just jump right into it because, you know, it was a busy week, but not much new information to bring to you guys. But we'll start off with the commitments. There was three of them since last Sunday. Last Sunday, and Luke Northweather, Sebastian Mack, and Sean Phillips. Northweather, a big man from Oklahoma, Mack, a combo guard from UCLA, and Phillips, another true big man from Arizona State. We've recapped all of those commitments and additions so far, and they don't not make sense. Mack and Phillips will probably be startable players. Northweather is going to be a depth guy. Again, kind of the general theme is not moves that jump out as crazy good, outside of maybe Mac, but definitely ones that are going to help the team, come together and add some valuable depth there. Not going to go too far into detail with that. And then obviously Peyton Marshall, the lone transfer out of the team, comes minutes after Sean Phillips enters the transfer portal yesterday. So kind of interesting there. So it leaves Missouri in an interesting position with 14 roster spots. Kind of at the point where you might as well fill that last one, right? Who that is, I'm not sure. It makes sense to add another guard, and I've been saying that. I think a lot of people are wishing the same thing. But again, it's kind of the thing we've been talking about since the commitments have been picking up. That there are guys flying off the board in Missouri is not getting them. A couple of those guys picked their new homes recently. I guess Kyan Evans was the main one that the Tigers showed interest in, that ended up not going there. Not necessarily a surprise at all. I don't think there's any indicators of where he was going for sure, but that one still stings. He would have been a good addition alongside Ant Robinson and Sebastian Mack. The same amount of eligibility as Mack and Anthony Robinson. They would have all been true juniors, so good depth there, good 3-point shooter. It's a bummer to miss out on a guy like him, but at this point in the transfer portal, with who Missouri has added, who they could have added, and who's on the roster right now, it looks like Dennis Gates and his coaching staff are hunkering down and trusting the pieces they have on their roster already, which is not, the craziest or worst approach to, take the offseason and take the transfer portal with. It's not probably what people were expecting, but it is what it is, right? And at this point, the names in the portal are lower. I'm gonna break those names down in a second, see who Missouri is still showing interest in. But there's 14 roster spots or 15 roster spots. 14 of those are full, so it makes sense at this point to fill that last one. With who, I don't know. Could other players leave? Absolutely. Definitely never going to rule that out. But the portal is winding down. It closes here in about a week or so. So we'll see who leaves and comes in between this time today and this time next week. Finally, let's break down the guys that Missouri still is showing interest in. And, these might not be the most valid names anymore, given they just brought in Sean Phillips. We'll see how much of that changes because a lot of these guys were front court depth and big men. Starting off with Kennard Davis from Southern Illinois. This is a name I'm pretty high on that makes sense. He's a St. Louis guy. He has either recently visited Ohio State or is heading to Ohio State here soon. I know he had some other power conference interests, so we'll see what happens there. Ohio State has a visit right now, so kind of easy to give them a nod. Terrence Ginyard from UT Martin was another guy they showed interest in. Again, don't really know much about where he stands as of now. No commitment to my knowledge, so that's another guy. Um, then you get into some big guys with Eddie Lampkin and Nehemiah Turner. Turner is a freshman center from Central Arkansas. Kind of came on late in the year. Would it be an interesting move at this point, given especially Luke Northweather? You would have to think that they play similar roles. And then Eddie Lampkin as well. He's a journeyman big man. I would imagine, like I said, neither of those two probably are going to be additions at this point in the season with the big men they've added so far. Last two are Duke Miles and Brendan Housen. I'm keeping Duke Miles on this list just out of a hunch and curiosity. He just, transferred from Oklahoma. commits to Virginia, but decommits from Virginia early or later last week. So Missouri showed initial interest there. Would be a guy that maybe you think they reach back out to just for another depth option. And same to Brendan Howson. He's a great three-point shooter. Started with Villanova, heads to Kansas State, and now he's hit the portal again. Had his best season of his career last year for the Kansas State Wildcats, garnering tons of power conference interest. So going to be a popular pick. Would be a guy that would fit Missouri's system, could play a Caleb Grill role easily. So that would be a fun one. Not getting my hopes up or anything there. So that's all I have for you guys today. Wasn't, like I said, busy week, but not the most eventful when it comes to brand new things I could bring to the table. So that's all I have for you guys here today on Missouri Tigers on the site. Do make sure you're keeping up with our site and our social media because we have all that news for you as soon as it drops. So just make sure you're checking out our stuff there, and I'll talk to you later.